당은 그래서 당은 차사 안에 지게 생기 잠재 잠바단 제월에 되네 너가 지게 초월에 지선 당은 저기 쳐야 돼야 생기 잠재를 되는 초거다 지정아도 탈바다 템지 캠비 고마 토바이네야 안에 지게 잠재기 냠는 제발에 되네 토고래서 대자다 잠니제 세디 난괴 취기 나는 냠는 잠니제 고미야다 델레티네 자주 셈 냠는 제디 나베 취기 냠는 조어레스 다 조어디레스 가서 디슈 디네 안에 잠니제 곰고비기 줌제 다 안에 잠님제 곰베기 안에 제부 판여 라신니가래 판데된데 슝고레스 가상도 디고시로나.
Good morning. Last night we spoke about how the very heart of Buddhism is the cultivation of compassion and bodhicitta. And this is because in order to attain enlightenment, bodhicitta is indispensable. And we spoke then last night about the reasons why we need to cultivate love and compassion, as well as the benefits that will follow from cultivating love and compassion.
나디는 마 쉬야디 당도 직디든 마 당아서 조와 민남라 남주기 제 르율레 대바시 유징스 델라테네 치용의비기 테 yar게 할레바 중요스.
So returning to the text on our first page, and I've just changed the translation quite a bit in the first line. We human beings have an inconceivable intellect and creative capacity, as a result of which we have developed much material progress. I'll read it again. We human beings have an inconceivable intellect and creative capacity, as a result of which we have developed much material progress.
직제바이나 당아주 밀리아 안지기 조아 밀리아 남주디 베지바디 파 삼나다 김센 삼다 제바제기 남주기 베제디 베 마시베기가 중앙주기 삼나다와레 하바지 파 제바제지 두시네 네 지기 제투에기 뉴버이딩이 지레서 왔다 정아주 조아 밀라 남주유 뢰제시디 제바제기 뉴바 삼다야기 되네 뉴바디 나아주기 르율레 대바치요레스 대바시 유징이 시대당아주 다당아주게 르율레 대바시데 다당아주게 제바 마지베 걸어서 되지리에서 니수 하고야 줘로와 되니기 디로유세데 다되는 마 제바는 디레 하바 배 항사야기 야체모 띵사보 하고 두고레스 지네 되니기 투야기 뉴바치요레스데 진짜 르율레 대바시데 아주 내가 제바 마지베 삼는 답이 삼는 땅한 디레 제바는 딜레 사바 띵 사바 쇼지간에 하고야 용그래시 요래서지.
Human beings are marked by having an outstanding intelligence. Certainly when we compare the intelligence of humans to that of animals, well really there is no comparison. Human beings have this wonderful potential or capacity to observe our situation, become aware of our situation, and think about what are the causes, what has led me to be in this particular situation. And human beings have the incredible capacity to then think through varying solutions to one's current predicament. This ability to think for ourselves, to investigate and analyze, this is something that humans have to a remarkable degree.
당탕기 리바 제바집이 남주기 풀로 중화주 요바 인자 데니게 삼당와라 데네 아니 제바지도 아다 디제고도 디세고 데네 수요고 선배 삼당지 바 제바체지 디세요데 갑라 데네 치용어비기 텔레 야게디 빠도메바 베마사 할레바 주요레세지 다능한 주기 녀마게 삼다베나 녀마라 아니 가려 즉 파수 조베나 공바체 존도 마도 요마라 모자 요마레 안 치수다 다 삼당지 모자 수 modern so ben beju tag take so delay some jebaji some yage dane de modern so da delay yage dane da namru so and jubsin so da denige thone phaso joba delay na be masnyema na dawa khashi goya la densa and jing some da na ya thone yage da je ngobo yage da je nimi jing ga ma khashi na le to so to ya so ya ji do sin de yage da yo wa da pa zho shi and di na xin Kalai nade, saya donya nade, neba ine, nyema na neba shidu, nagidu sedu do nyediyo mato xia merwa, tensa menju xia da jin, nene yage da jin, ko xia xue xie xie du xin ne, jin neba zha tu ya xi wu ji. Na dine samda da, wane nyema gi samda ba jeba, ko samlu gi yage de jeba gu du xin, di jie gu, di jie ne, di jue tu gu du xin peki, dine gi samdangi dangi da jidu, samlu yage qing yo du, dine ngu bigi, qi yu ngu bigi yage jala di da, dine gi chaza yage dang, 중화데 되네게 할래바 중요해 세야지 당아주 통신수 교바데 다디 디르와다
Independence on this inconceivable intellect and creative capacity that humans have, tremendous material progress has come about in our world, not just in modern times but over millennia, and it's all come about through due to our capacity to look at our situation and identify needs, and not only be able to see the problems and difficulties one encounters, but then devise creative solutions. We think, way back in the distant past, the only way to get about was to walk. Then humans devised ways to cultivate relationships with animals, and horses could be ridden. Thereafter, they used their intelligence further, and they used horses and other animals to pull carts. This was developed further also in terms of rudimentary boats, and these also were developed. Now we have cars, we have ships, and we have aeroplanes. And we can travel across the world in relatively no time and in great safety. This has all come about because of our incredible intelligence. And not just in the world of transportation, but we can think of the increase in lifespan, longevity, as well as the general well-being of people. This has come about in dependence on our incredible intellect that has led to medical treatment, medicines, and so forth, that have meant that causes that would have almost certainly led to death, these days are manageable. All this change has come about in dependence on our remarkable intelligence and creativity.
Sanyima diwai na ngazu teniwi chike ponda me sadima tani wodeni ki jagorwa shosene ki jagorwa denigi dan ki jabje magosa tarin boyni miji kangzun rogorwa den ma lengia rogorwa da dasa na de romos lamsa ponda je karine chike sajamling chik kyap panjo tarin bo shuine lamsa chike ni tusi kama chik nalo hache tuyagi legale tuyagi denigi yarge chik chiungubi thone yarge denish de chik tang tuyorwa da bene lumba chik le saya tuya kanga shu chobene ta yahap tarang bo shu chine pa namru na saya tuya chu khe chine ana chik dongale gyop tuya da menje chi tuyagi denigi chiungobo yarge joyore se da haleba jo se de tang samdan be ma sa han sa ya ru jirwa da ne.
And in the not-so-distant past, the way for the average person to communicate, certainly in the materially undeveloped world, was only vocally. And in some places, if you had the education and access to the technology that there was, one could write letters or send telegrams. But generally, people would only communicate verbally. And if you wanted to communicate with someone at a distance, well, hopefully you're on opposing sides of a valley and then could shout from one side of a mountain to someone on the other side of the mountain. But that was the only form of long-distance communication available to most people. If you wanted to speak to someone just in a neighboring village, let alone across the country, one had to walk. This has completely changed. And it's changed in a short period of time. Now with ease and relatively very little expense, one can phone people around the world and thereby stay in contact with one's family and dear friends with really minimal expense and no effort. And also in terms of travel. If one needs medical treatment, one can travel a distance that before would have been preventative, and now we can do so with ease and access really phenomenal medical treatment. So this technological development that has come about really is quite remarkable.
nangi semgi thone haleba ji droyo mar se orda gaisi she gaisi nga chue gi chinang ni gi yarge chanym도 동토바 이나 세월 제사다 치용오버 되는 이야기 줘봐나 지금 아주 삼로 뒤야 yarge 진념도 땅토바 이나 땅토 구거래 해제래라.
Continuing with the text. However, if we balance external development with internal development, here His Holiness is making the point that the need to utilize our human creativity and intellect in a way that is in accordance with our values.
나 저기 낭삼로 yarge 땅에 가래서네 다디 낭삼로 yarge 땅에 다 가상 슈바나시 샹래야 잠바단 제와 삼다야다 샹리에 팬비 삼다야디 어두스 디삼로 yarge 조고 그래지래 지사 디삼로 대당 치용오버 yarge 조바 대당 샹래 제외 삼바단 팬비 삼바 잠지에 삼로디 yarge 념도 뉴바로시 념도 두고 이번에 아니 디 조tum데 빼고요래스 디 마도바이나 아니 괜찮은 거 해지래 지사 어디
This ties into what we were looking at last night, that our external material development, that this we should be utilizing in accordance with our values, utilizing material progress to benefit society, to benefit people beyond ourselves, to utilize material progress to ease beings, problems, sufferings, and difficulties.
데니게 셈낭 셈로데 야게 땅 염두조 요조토바나 가르용고레스네 치잉오보남 베제 양다바시 동투바당마사 당아주기 치 뭐버디게 베제디 양다바질라 야고 판바질레 셴리에 판바당 라신니게레 판베지 판바질레야 베지 당투그레스 치잉오바나 ngobonan beje yangdabashi tang tuba dangs chapjik side nyamdu siora chapji ngobo yagela longjebe kap mi rinda yang malaba chetu gre esede jesa ngobo yage tangje ngobo yage ti ujowana delya beje tangdu mi rinda de malaba jine ne beje tang tu gre es malaba chetu gre es.
This is shown as the paragraph concludes. However, if we balance external development with internal development, we can utilize material things in the right way. So this indicates in accordance with our values. And that point is made explicitly in the next sentence. At the same time as we enjoy material progress, we will not lose the value of humanity. So therefore, here His Holiness is talking about utilizing at the same time as enjoying or making use of material progress or making use of material progress, we should do so in a way that brings about harmony and benefit to others.
그래서 당연히 저기 치용오보 남배제 양다바시 땅투부리에서도 다지다 저기 치용오베 자람 릭지 직 배제 양다바 망부시 배제 양다바 땡고로 봐. 배냥아 저 모자서다 넘주세다 되네기 한주게 됐지 미파조 괴알아서 면주지야다 되네 치용오보 yar기 초 릭직디 안저 양다바 펜발이야 비시 땡고로 와다. 다 릭지 가르 비시 땡고래서네 당연히 저기 지금 마게 넘주세야 되게 마게 넘주데 가월 비시 당하서네 밀야 강아대야다 두부다사데 delya bejudan gorwa ane jige dan chöncherik Deji and Rashi Nigala Gangante Dele Bishtangorwa. And Dinashi, Jichinga to get Sanjala Cheshomas or Dinigi. Dineza, Chiungobo Yerge, Yandabashi, Chasan Yandabash Bistan to go, my lesson. Chiungobo Ricashel Yandabal Bistan, Payel Bistan to go. Move Chasan and Payel Bistan to go, Maraka, never Ganga, Rashi Nigala Gangante Bijimang Tangores. And D. Garichevarella. Now simply some of the Yaki Chunchares or that Mobo Yaki Chimba Nashi, some of the Yaki Matobares, Chisa Matobanza, Chi Mobo Chazan Anzuli Beju Yanda was not two Gomares, Rikashi, and it could bear Shalia, Tewada, Nubada, Rashinicala, Gangayan, Bijitango Regere.
How we make use of material progress can either bring benefit to others or harm others. So take an illustration we're all familiar with, that of driving a vehicle. One can drive a vehicle and bring benefit or bring harm. One can bring benefit by going to the grocery store, taking someone to the hospital, and in this way, one can drive a vehicle and bring benefit. But utilizing that same skill, but driving a vehicle in the time of war in order to take life, this is utilizing the same skill, but in a destructive manner. How we utilize our human intelligence is so important. We can utilize our intelligence to develop remarkable technology, and that technology can be utilized to benefit beings or to develop advanced weapon systems. Both are developed by human ingenuity, but whether this creative capacity is utilized to benefit or to harm depends on the underlying motivation. So therefore, the underlying motivation determines whether our human capacity for creativity and intelligence, that this is used to increase problems, suffering, and difficulties in the world, or to ease problems, suffering, and difficulties in the world. So again, the underlying intention is of supreme importance.
Desa denigi chunje rigda denigi shalya tsewigi tone beju dayadi garejene samlo nala garengosene samlo nala shalya jambadan tsewadi mebarida shalya tsewachige samlade nyobaki samletiyorwa jezada jambada tsewa jobaina di beje tang maresorwa da bitang maresorwa ondina da denigi za 잠지기 교차래 지사 삼로디 야가 릭 잠바다 제외 삼로디 야기 땅요 줘요 마 현래 팬배 삼로디 야기 땅마도 마 줘와레스 지사 디니 인자 디소 현래 채와래 비슷한 거래세 안디나시로 땅아주 모터를 비신내데 포인트기 가서 땅아주 롤레디기 내다 롤레디 이제 현래 지게 잠바다 제위기 현래 팬배 삼로지나 디 팬바 현래 라세니가래 팬배지래 비슷한 거로 다 샹리아 체외 삼바도 뇌외 삼바 잠제 매바시 샹리 팬바 뇌외선 체외 삼바 주바나 디기 삼로디기 아니 가 로레디 차사 샹리아 뇌외제를 비슷한 두고로와 제기 비슷한 두고로와 지사다 모자시네 다르와 강존에 샹리아 체외 삼바 뇌외 삼바 강존 마 밀레 다비아를 용구로 모자 다비아게 다바나 모자 비슷하다와 제자데 샹레 제와단 잠비 삼바다 샹리아 강아진의 지금 말했으면 삼로다 샹리아 펜버두고를 쓰면 삼로 줘번 모데지 샹리아 강아지야 강존이 다 동야지 용어 말와 제자디 매바디 제자 데니기 아주 치용어 보디 이 차상 양다바질에 비주다 마투바디 가르스네 오보 이야기 줘봐 나시 낭삼로디 야기 잠제기 냠레디 야기 조마투바기 내서 진짜 디네자 아주 오버 이야기 줘봐다 냠두 아주 난게 셈 잠제기 냠렌디야 야 누버 철철 땅고 그래서 누버 철 땅바 있나 아니 오버 차상 양다바지라 폐바지라 비주 땅 마도 아니 강아제야 당 너비기야리야 비주 땅 말에스
The first point to be clear of here is the importance of the underlying motivation, are the values that inspire a motivation. That if the values are infused with love and compassion, then how we utilize material progress will be very different. Because how something is utilized is dependent on the underlying motivation. If someone is driving a vehicle and one is doing so with no wish to harm, or if one is doing so with a wish to harm or no wish to harm, clearly depends on the underlying motivation. Likewise, if one is using modern technology, perhaps computer technology or utilizing the internet, this can be done in a way to bring benefit. It can be utilized, the same technology, in a way that brings harm. One can be communicating on social media in a way that brings benefit or in a way that brings harm. This all comes from the underlying motivation and the values that inspire that motivation. So this needs to be, to understand the statement from His Holiness here, that we need to balance external development with internal development, and then we can utilize material things in the right way. Here he's indicating the need to cultivate within ourselves a motivation of love and compassion, because to the extent that love and compassion influence our values, we will utilize modern technology, various forms of material progress, in a way that benefits and does not harm.
Jazada Bendigo Tibetan and chapter over Yargi Chigi Yagela Long Jubeka mi Rindang Malabachi to Grace and Malabachi to Zero. Chisan Jamba than Zivi Ninji Samlo de Yagi Chitoba the Yago Yobena, Di Kunona Vena, Jugi Ubo Bijita, Shella Manabachidan, and the Shelia, the Chena. Pembach Kugule, Shanda Yago Jonas and Big Shanley, Rintang Sije, and Shanlia, and Pembat and Diwali, Dion Bishan to war the edge.
At the same time as we enjoy material progress, we will not lose the value of humanity. To the extent that we cultivate love and compassion and it infuses with our intention, we will take care not to harm. We will take care with our way of utilizing material things so as not to harm others, and where we can, rather to benefit.
Denigi Shanlia, Zewe Sambada, Shan Digi de Tangudu, Shan Dunga Juna Jigmindu, Sambege, Denigi, Zewe Sambada, Jamze Sambach Mevaina, and a Kariungurasene, Jazan Jugi, Beshe Tadu, Mobotiki, Beshe Tadu. Milia and the Rintang Matsibaje, Rintazigo, Benanga to Garsore, Jala Nimba Chad, Pando Meva, the Rintazigo Mara, Ushagorwada, the Coca Tornado, Garjan Shipa, Ushagorwada, Chisan Jala Nimba Chadiko, that Rinhayo Mata, Besh, Niba Yapo Yoma, Simpici, Copeshima, Ushagor, Rinta Matsiorwa. Or Dinashi, Shelia, Jambata, Zevi, Nije, Shelia, Pembe, Samloj, Mevaina. And the doctor some carry on session, let's have what you do somebody go. And Digi and the Milia Rintazigo, Marcas, Jala Nimba Pamado, Ushabanashin, Midi Social, Social. Just not the march of the Dishago, the march of do, and the Milia Rintamatsi, Tom Matsi, and the Kazi Meva Sutuna, Jima Social, sometime Mado, and Jiki Rintamala, Rinta Meva Tichigorwa. On Dinashi, Yanjik Sosugi, Duangam, Sosugi, Jik Benjo, Sosugi, Tunjin Duviale, Rang Jis, some Shuchimbo Yudikabla, and then Jigi Lagar Slevene, Shella Nuna Manuna Kayama, Shella Nuna Kayama, Sosu Kepsara and the Jigis and some Tone, Bijitan, Ditone, and then Shelia, and Jigi Rina Zigomar, which is the Rina Ladu. She's a Rina Lava, the Karjeva, Jamjis. Samlonalia, Shanlia, Jambata, Zivi, somebody maybe Kinis, Chesan Digi, and Shan Mitiki, Shanlia, Rintameva Sukoreche, Chesan Shanlia, Zewatan, Jambi, Samlo Chubena, and the Shanla, or the Dicene, Conso to Gure, Conso Gangatan, Diapo Mare, Sambege, Samlo Ligi, Chesan Colia, Consulan, Deva, Devan, Conso Digi Kugur, Dunam Kugo Marsibi, Chesan Shanli, Rintazigores, Chesan Jamzi, Yamlena, Shanlan, Rinta Malaba, Chitures. Jamzi Yamle Mena, and the Shanlia ane rina gyune matse wache 가르치 나시 소수 되기 중에 되기도 삼배 삼마 배지 땅에도 되네 강한 망부 되고래 에세지 송구도와
To the extent that we cultivate love and compassion within us, we'll naturally think of the impact our actions have on others. This will naturally arise as something of importance, and we will ensure that we do not bring any harm to others, but rather benefit wherever we can. And this is because, to the extent that we develop love and compassion within us, we will value others. We will not discard their needs. We will not see them as being of less value, as lesser than us or our group. With the cultivation of love and compassion, comes a tenderness of heart, a deep inner warmth. And this leads to us valuing others, to seeing that their happiness matters to us. And thereby, with this as being our own deep innermost values, this will guide us in how we utilize technology, how we utilize the material world, and thereby ensure that we interact with others directly and indirectly with care. So if you think from a business perspective, someone who's dominated by the normal self-centered attitude within society, first and foremost in their mind is their profit. And the impact that their decisions have on others is probably not completely discarded, but seen as secondary and is easily justified. The impact that their decisions have on their staff, on society as a whole, on the environment, is not seen as important as the attainment of profit. And this comes from an attitude lacking in love and compassion. But such a person, such a business leader, who has cultivated love and compassion, will have a far more altruistic attitude, an attitude where they see the impact that their decisions have on others and value others. And thereby, if their profit comes at the expense of others, that will not be worthwhile. That will not be something they will value and look to achieve.
That is the Ningbo, that the Shubene, the Nala, the Milia, Pe Namju, Peshitan, Yudibare, Jizan Namju, Samutayadi, Peshitayadi, Yobadi, Chingobo Yagi Toba Nashin, Samutia, and Chigi Yagi, Sambu Cho, the Yagi Tampore, Samla Sambu Cho. Jamba dan zewi shenle pembe samlo di yarge ngobo yarge joba na nashin dihang nyamdu shenle pembe samlo di shukcher yarge tanggo gore namche di beji tanggo gore es da do nala jezang a jugi chi ngobo jela di yaga ji le beji tanggo re duwa ji le beji tanggo re se di ma zu mi gi beji tangge mi samlo kunlong la rali gore jiru da ma do kunlong gi mene ko ngobo khorong la chebar khayo mares jezang da kunlong ra lo ba za mi kunlong de ya 배 셴리에 판바다 제외된 잠지게 삼로 주에 되버나 띵오버 차상 셴리 판바지를 비슷한 두고 땅그래서 다시 데니게 삼로디 야게 마침 바제 삼로들이야 셴리야 안체외 삼바다 셴리야 즉 만년 그 두고를 통중 따야다 데니게 삼다바인데 군론된 주에 버나 니기 오버디게 땅지 셴리야 강아제다 라시니까 강아제야 안 비슷한 그래서 제가 데니 인자 마저기 ngobo yagi chowa nashi nga zu samlo nanglo samlo di jamni chi shenla pembe samlo di yagi tangwa di kiechin bures di yagi chowa ina shenla cewe samlo di ma shuk chung ru bures cewe samlo da shenla nebe samlo di shuk chung chowa ina ane ngobo digi jala digi shenla neba dan kanga chayala bishitang mares chisan di kiechin bures urda.
To the extent that we cultivate love and compassion within us, and we will relate to others naturally, spontaneously, with warmth and with affection, that then will infuse with our very being and guide how we utilize our human creativity and our intelligence. Here we understand then that we would express ourselves both through how we utilize material phenomena, but certainly also our own individual skills and talents. We'd utilize these in a way that brings benefit to others. And we would do so then ensuring that whilst we are benefiting some, we didn't harm others. We would value all. How we utilize our skills, our talents, our material technology comes down to our motivation. Where that motivation is infused with the warmth and affection that arises from love and compassion, our interactions with others will be guided by care and attention to the impact that we have on them.
가서는 닝제당 셴변기 셈니 신도 가이침보 인답서 저자 당주 지상 대신에 뭐버티기 비슷한래 셴래 펜바질래 비슷한데 야가 비슷하디 낭 군로라래 바자 닝제대 셴변기 삼로지 여반에 펜바질 비슷한 투고엔자 디네자 닝제대 셴변 셴변 펜베 삼로디 베가 삼로디 아줄래 게침보 슈슈에서 신도 가이침보 이제 인스 지사디 대장한테디 야곰제 뭐 권내공도 이렇게 담고야 되게 심부를 해서 물어다.
Moving to the next paragraph. Because compassion and altruism are so important. Here, now as we move into this new paragraph, His Holiness is linking with the previous points that there's compassion and the wish to be of benefit to others, or altruism, is of supreme importance, and therefore we need to ensure it becomes a guiding light within us.
데니게다 잠 니제다 셴비에 삼로된 안줄베 계침보 인자 낭비 최네 데니 냠린 제탕교 꼴 송수 템부 주기 인세 제자 낭바상이 좀낸 디기 아주 최나라 조 냠린 체데 제자 잠 니제다 셴레 펜베 선보된 냠레 제고그레세네 다지 상지디 송요레스 제자 디송바디 디 꼴야 아니게 돌드이지 마 냠는 제탕 꼴 간간에 참 제고레세 디고 송요인세 꼴
Sentence concludes, because compassion and altruism are so important, I will explain a little from the Buddhist teaching on how to practice them. His Holiness here now having established that compassion and love are the very heart, the very essence of the Buddha's teachings, and presented why that is the case. He will now explain in brief how to cultivate love and compassion.
제가 다다 니 주비기 주수 상보 셰샤와디 라셴니기 된 뎀주 제갑 랑기 된 랑된기 삽도 셴된 뎀주 제유기 삼바티 인서.
To the next sentence, where I've just changed a word. The type of good conduct about which I'm speaking is the mindset that, when faced with choosing your own or others' welfare, to choose others' welfare rather than your own. I'll read it again. The type of good conduct about which I'm speaking is the mindset that, when faced with choosing your own or others' welfare, to choose others' welfare rather than your own.
다다 니 주비기 주수 상보 세디 다jam치게 다스나주게 죄바 상보 제고레 세디 주수 상보세 간지 라비레세네 다 간지 세지 삼바이나 데데네 생활주고로 라셴니게 된 뎀주 제가 랑게 된게 잡라 셴데 뎀주 제규데 삼 지기 선배 삼로 인세데 다던다라 랑다 셴니기나네 베나주게 베로 샤베나 아주 미니 세제 요체 니가 나 소소에 저것도 미샤다디 저것도 되베이나 다 칼라지나 지여바체 칼라지여체 나디 나 결혼데 칼라디 미지에다디 칼라지나도 디 결혼이 수사이나 랍나 다시 삼바상고 오다 nga ro ko ro tu ko ta ngeli ko ro to ba di pha se che digi chuna digi du nga de nga ma chuna ko le ya phan ba chuna digi du sempe samma ta je o khala de khron sa ro she lam na o du sene di shen gi de dem ru shen le ya ane rang duen na shen duen gi ne shen duen gi dem ba ro dam ba ro ko da di dam ga da ngi di chi gi se khron sa ro chi es da ya chi nga ji ge 아데 닝이 자기는 칼라디 토베는 랑둥이 도 담셔봐 홀보 거기 바치다 닝이 자기는 토베다 랑둥이 담바봐 지사다 여름 지게서 다디께서 셈바 상보 잠제 제고를 잠 셈바 상보 제고를 세 상주 제고를 세 상보데 가래람나 데니게 담관리도 갑라 랑디 파야 샤셰 현래这样的 지사 콜라 안처럼 칼라 켜서 코딩을 세고 선배 삼다제 담보 콜라야 삼다제 안 켜서 사쇼스라베나 아니 현도이 템도 제바로와 베디나시 당 저기 니미지리아 야 저기 뒤수지리아 아니 로봇 현다지리아 로봇제고 콜라 로봇제고 계시뭐 쉬우쉬어 봐제 아니 디니마데 야 소소라 링가 땅야게 뒤수지야 니가 뒤수지고 계려 봐이나 다 디니 가르담 거서 근데 다 디링아 뒤수때 공사다 뒤수레데 이내다 콜야 로봇지든 빼하고도 콜야 강아 디기 주되디 콜 로봇지긴 셈배 삼다베나 디 담가 제바나 다 디링 알링가 땅아 두고메 딩이 데 콜야 로봇지도 로봇지가 두고 있어 베나 담가 제바나 디 담바데 셴딩기 셴레 펜비게 셴기 된 담송으로와 제자 데네치 고고래 제자 데네자 랑다 셴이 나네 셴조 제제 셴레 펜베 삼로디 슈크체 땅가지고 그래서 데네게 삼로데라 아니 주스 상보세 된지라고 그래서 순거다
What is this good attitude that His Holiness is referring to here? It is, as the rest of the sentence presents, placing the needs of others before one's own. Placing the needs of others with sincerity before one's own. So let's take an illustration. Two hungry people. You know you're hungry, you can feel it. And now there's an opportunity to eat something, but it's not enough to satiate two people's hunger. So someone who is kind-hearted, who has developed an altruistic attitude, will not be so dominated by their own needs that they cannot be aware of the needs of others. They will be very aware of the needs of others, and seeing that both are hungry, will spontaneously, naturally, prioritize the fulfillment of the needs of the other before themselves. And therefore, with sincerity, they will insist that the other person enjoys the meal. And for someone who has cultivated an altruistic attitude, that will be something that they will do naturally, without any thought of thinking that they are superior or kind-hearted. It will just be clear to them that this is the right way to behave. On the other hand, someone dominated by a self-centered attitude will either directly take the food for themselves or connive to make a plan so as to have it for themselves. Another illustration would be if one has some free time, and maybe some free time one was really looking forward to, and then someone approached you, or you noticed a need where someone needed assistance, needed time to be given to them. If you value others, if you've developed an attitude of valuing others, one will readily give up one's free time, even if one really was looking forward to it. And one will give up one's free time with joy, because one will see the fulfillment of the needs of others as being one's own purpose. And therefore, with sincerity, one will readily volunteer of oneself, offer of oneself to help others. And one will do so with no feeling of loss, but rather the fulfillment of one's values.
네 랑댕이 섭도 신된 됨규시 시대다 랑다 신기 랑기 된다다 신기 된다 이나네 다 예 신기 된다의 저체제 신리에 판비주야다 신기 엔데 강아세데 예체체 제고레스 데니기 제에게 삼로디 다 주소성 보셔 데니실레게 돼서 디인세도 두스는 송도와
So therefore, what we aspire to develop is a mindset where we value others and express that through placing their needs as more important than the fulfillment of our own. This is the mindset that we need to develop.
rangi dunda da shengi dunda yi na ne da nga zo ne shengi dunda de le rangi dunda de ge chero ji ru wa da ga ne ji bene ya kanga ji be ji taya ru ji bene de ne ya nyanga chen bu ju bene de le taya de ya ni le so so taya ge ta ta stand ma do janda ge taya de so so je de sam dang ma wa pa zhe de ge le de le kanga de le taya ta ru wa taya de taya samdadu 소소라 당고 저걸 삼 저걸 마대 샨다디게 삼등미도 와대 나줄리 벤페니스 직바로 실리기나 지상 안츠가서 소소라랑 당보 타야 삼등으로 와 저야 삼등으로 지상 디네장 안주 디르와 지게 네 잘라로 시네 안델야 야도 멍부 지샤 미마오 결혼 가는데 직 담니 키로 하실람는 당보데 인가도 야가 담니 키로로 와대 당보레 야가데 베지셰 야가데 키로로 와 마도디 랑둥이 제대로 니나진다 아주게 소소에 내가 계침부 주어봐지 미션다제 내가 계침부 주어봐 니가 냠도 유디급라 미션다제 어당알데네 내가 계침부 주 로봇으로 셀럽노 어당아 디는 두세명 알아디 내가 계침부에다 디 두세명 안에 좀말아 사지 이 랑에도 계침 나주게 넘윤라 디용고로 와다 디가 가르스는 아주리야 xian rang jizin dang, xian jizin samlo nga zo rang jizin samlo di nga zo nyama ya gomshi ro ji shuk che yin za di ro wa xian jizin samlo di nga zo ya gomshi di shuk chung ta ba yin za di gi ji go ro wa da.
This is our aspiration. But not just a mere aspiration, it's something we need to cultivate. Because we find ourselves currently in the opposite position, placing our own needs first. And if you think of a situation where one is faced with immediate danger, the natural response is to flee, to take care of oneself without giving thought to others. Or if something perhaps that we are more familiar with, when one's busy, when one is feeling pressure, one's feeling that one has to accomplish certain tasks which we see as greatly important within a limited time frame, when others then have needs, we push them aside. We say, I cannot be there for you now. My tasks are too important. Your needs are not as important as the fulfillment of my tasks. This is how we currently think. And we think in this way because we are so habituated from beginning of lifetimes to grasping at ourselves as dear, as placing the fulfillment of our own needs first and foremost.
당아랑 톱고도 선비게 토야에 탑시장마데 당이 로봇 제모전이들 코톱네 야고도 콜톱네 야고도 선비게 삼다죠 코톱주에 선비지 당 말아 소소 토야기들 비지당 거로 안서 숙작으로 지자디 랑기 된디 자셰지 비주셰지 생이 된다데 충화지로 지자다 니네장 원에 신앙하는 주다 직 현준 자체제 랑된의 충화지에는 니네 제모전도 겁리네 다랑 소소 토구여바이네 콜이야 톱주제 아니 고기합도 콜 톱주제 소소야 마사 심바이나 안디네 콜이야 아니 고지게 판도 주야기 되네게 삼지 땅베나 내가 저 고고를 내가 줄라디 용투고 말해지로다 다디서 아주 세부로 지로다 아주 냠뇨 차상 냠뇨 이해 차그로.
And a further illustration we'll have experience of is in the world of sport. The joy we experience when our team wins. This victory, this delight we experience when our team wins, completely overshadows our awareness of the pain at the loss that the supporters of the other team are experiencing. And even when we are aware of it, we see the expressions on their faces, our joy serves to push their suffering experience away. So this is also something we're very aware of, and this is how we naturally respond to situations or life's events.
나 양은 저기 되는 용으로다 가서 지 아마다 부르지 바와다 밤마다 부르지 배 밤에게 부르야 제와 쉬고 주변에 야 되네게 된도 집가려야 이 부도 톱내야 고도 섬제 강선에 소소랑 토구여변에 돼서 누가 중 다지 부고 톱야기 톱주야기 되네지 용시 바로와 이 코스네 되네 요도에 가서는 랑당 시부디네 부디 계시지 콜야고 주나 셈비게 펜베 삼로지 되어도 되네제 아주 용고로 와다.
Another illustration you'll have experience of is the pride and joy a parent takes in the success of their child, even when it's at the expense of others. The parents of the other child will have a very different experience, but the pride and joy that the parent takes completely dominates their mind, making it impossible for them to truly feel for the pain, the suffering that the other is experiencing.
Dine zadang zula kargugo sene dinma shengi dun jebar tsimba da rangi dun yawa do yu di ane nyamne jegu kurese warda shengi dun jebar tsimba da rangi dun yawa do yu di nyamne jegu kurese chesa rangi dun da la shi rangda shengi ne shengi dun da la dubiya di Geshe Thubten Chesada Rangla Rangi Dwanda Madubana Shengi Dwanda Duguna Dead Page Tangore Chesa Denisa Randa Shengi Nane to Konyam to Chidu Shenlia Dwanda to Shen the Tiki to ya Shenle Pember to ya Samlodi Geshe Tangore.
How to train our mind is then presented in the next sentence. Cherishing others' interests and neglecting your own. So this then presents the need to place the needs of others, the fulfillment of their wishes, the fulfillment of their interests as first and foremost, and allowing the fulfillment of our own wishes, allowing that to fade into the background, to not dominate our mind, but rather what to dominate us is for others to achieve what they desire.
Denige some dango ineya di lamsa yung mitube jongdar chego heso. Chesada denige rangda rangda shengi doing rangi dun yawa do shengi dun le jeba de lamsanga du yong ya kabures yong tu mares ine di yong ya ila jongdar chego res jango lo jango gres.
Cherishing others' interests and neglecting your own cannot be developed immediately. Training is needed.
장고레스. 나 되네게 로 장다기 림바데 나 낭베기 슝나를 봐 순고레스. 제가 낭베 최낭 디다비 자심규 주수 기베 탑. 아니 조니 다신냠제당 균제 맹가 둔유 Duni is Deniki, Lo Jantan Jimbatella, Nabi Shunala, Karsungora Sene, Delia, and Jike Dashanyam Jukone, Lo Janta said, and the Kundi Manga Dungu, the Lo Jantas, Deniki, Rimbal Masona, Nisungor, Egere.
Text continues, and I've changed a little bit in the sentence. In Buddhism, there are two main techniques for developing bodhicitta. One called the equalizing and exchanging of self and others, and another called the sevenfold quintessential instructions of cause and effect. So I'll just read it again. In Buddhism, there are two main techniques for developing bodhicitta. One called the equalizing and exchanging of self and others, and another called the sevenfold quintessential instructions of cause and effect.
다데네게 니 세데 균제 다데네 셈기 수 당보라 개왕아치게 남샤미괴스 치머를 거봐 인세 당아 저기 다 장슈 셈 냠렌제게 림바텔라 다셔냠제 셈종제 장슈 셈기야 직다 균제 맹아 둔유코네 장슈 셈 아니 냠레 장슈 셈 냠렌제다 계획이 탑람제대 배주제대 탑신이 여바 나신 여바 이게 나네 다 다시 냠지 요거네 냠는 제게 림바디 바 제발라 아니 계와 가소레 계왕아마다 치모요고 아니 지게 로저 셰호야 말해지 셰호 송고 말해지래.
There are therefore these two techniques for developing bodhicitta, one being that of equalizing and exchanging self with others, and the other being the 6 cause and 1 effect method. Of these, the first one, equalizing, or the first one mentioned, equalizing and exchanging self with others, there is no need to accept reincarnation. So this is in the next line. For the first, the theory of rebirth is not necessary.
이제는 치마들을 고거래서데 균리 맹야 균요권에 로장와들라 아니 개와 같이 아마다 치마이고 삼당고 고래시로다.
Whereas for the latter it is. In other words, for the 6 cause and 1 effect method, one needs to reflect on reincarnation.
이제 디 개왕아마다 치마게 삼당고야 디 김전 가르람나 디 땅말에 때네 저게 잠바다 니지 계획이 된다를 땅고로와 지나다 다시 냠제권을 로장행기다 누자 가사디게 로얼마서 닝도 채와다 홍보 노하루 신자 안데설이야 개왕아마다 치마고 마셔베네 다시 냠제기 돈 로장이도 랑 지진다 현 지진기 균다 연된 삼비토네 삼당여도 근데 잠니지기 두고래시래 지다 균제 맹아 둔주고는 로장한다 되었 딜레 되었 롤 홍볼 마소나 되었 되었니 마와로 채고래 디네자 델이야 아니 랑 지진다 현기 지진 바 로도야래야 가서 버 도초 현지 랑 지진 로도 현지진 로게발라 남보 니레 개왕아마다 치마요고 삼당제 다나마도 람사 디 게알도 스칼레 카요 제자 데네자 담보 개왕아치게 삼렀다 안디젤이야 안디스네 삼당바네 개와레라 용고 제자 코로나야 데네게 탑람 두스네 손와레지 제자 용고레 제자디 마 냠는 지에 강사디 림바니 강사디 디 두샤 카와 차들와.
So there is 2 different methods equalizing to develop bodhicitta, one being equalizing and exchanging self with others, and the other being the 6 cause and 1 effect method. Some will have an inclination for one, and others will have an inclination for the other. So those who have a predisposition for reasoning will be more likely to be inclined to the technique of equalizing and exchanging self with others, where one reflects, in order to generate love and compassion, one starts by reflecting on the faults of grasping at oneself as dear and the many benefits of holding others as dear. But for those who, but there's another technique that many are more inclined towards, and that is the technique where one reflects cultivates 6 causes that lead to the one result, which is that of generating bodhicitta. And this is an easier method for those whose inclination is to this method. Here, though, there is a need to reflect on reincarnation.
당보 대응하시 나가시 심비에서 안디링 균리 맹가 둔유고란 주유인세 지나다 다세냠지 요건의 로장수된 니엘이야 송차와 인세다 진 뒤수질 니엘 직송유로 송차와 인세 아니 디링 수슈에데 가르친 균리 맹가 둔유고의 로장수의 디고마숑 송인송도.
The paragraph concludes. As I've explained, the first elsewhere, so that's equalizing and exchanging self with others, I will talk about the 7-fold quintessential instructions of cause and effect today.
나데네게 송도 갑라 균제 맹야도 로장타기 림바 마 송도 갑라 데 송다로스 림바서지 니용고래 당보 안 제부디 마차 제부디 베네 상예고 파사데 상예고 톱자 탈도 상예고 파들와 상요 고방 토발라 안에 람 냠는 가르치고 그랬더니 장주쌤 냠는 제고를 했어야 돼. 근데 장주쌤이 냠는 제발라 가르치고 그랬으네 녀리야 안에 가르쳐 니 잠니지 가서를 하산 남다셔야 돼 냠는 제고를 했어야 돼. 되네 안 디녀라 하산 남다 줄게 와라 안에 가르치고 그랬으네 디녀리야 안에 니 공부를 했어야 다 디녀리야 안 잠제 공부 디곰라 안에 지 마시 진짜라서 공부를 해서 두스마 당보 마스 직도스네 송나 직제 야 송나 직이야 당보 안에 직 anga 저기 당념 공부래 되네 마시 진짜는 공부래 되네 안에 잠바 공부래 되네 니죠 공부래 되네 하산남다 공부 되네 장쇼쌤 공부래 되네 사유고와 토부래 세 어두시야 야시나 송나 직제다 되네 돈달라 간에 숨에 직바로 채고래 돼 송나로서 지금 이용고래
This technique of sevenfold quintessential instructions of cause and effect can be presented in two ways. One can start with the effect, that of bodhicitta. One can start with the supreme result, that of Buddhahood, and then one would explain, but in order to achieve Buddhahood, one has to cultivate bodhicitta. And bodhicitta itself is dependent. The generation of bodhicitta is dependent on 6 causes, starting with immediately being preceded by the altruistic attitude of universal responsibility. And this itself, in turn, comes about in dependence on the generation of compassion and love. And these come about in dependence on having generated this strong wish to repay the kindness of others. And for this to arise, one needs to have reflected on the kindness of others. And for that to have come about, one needs to have started by looking at the close entwined relationship we have with all beings, seeing all beings as dear to us as our mothers, as showing us the kindness of mothers. So that is the one technique where one starts with the supreme goal of enlightenment, and then with the 7th step, that of bodhicitta, and the steps in reverse order that lead to its attainment. Or the alternative way is to start with the 6 causes, reflecting all beings as being our mothers, recalling their kindness, generating the wish to repay their kindness, and so forth. The 6 causes that lead to the one result of bodhicitta. So these are the 2 ways that one can present the 6 cause and 1 effect method.
and to samba shukchenbo jeba las tom shen gyobi kur rangi ye ten to langsu ye ne hasam namda de ngebar to gyoba yins.
Next paragraph. In order to have strong consideration for others' happiness and welfare, it is necessary to have a special altruistic attitude in which you take upon yourself the burden of helping others.
다당은 저기 신이든 다 신이든 가르스네 semjen 탐지 코유 동아 타달에 드라바나다 신이든 주고로 신책으로 신이든 주고로 신이 강아 차상 세바 되기 풍선 소바도 주바에 신이든 신이든 주고로 제가 되게 신이든 가래 저기 신 semjen 탐지 코유 동아를 줘야지야 타르바 토바나 녀모 바차다 제바 산 제제 산지 고바 톱나 신 디네 신이 된 샤루와 신이 된 제산 신이 대대해야 되디 제산 디네기 디기디 대 용화라야 아니 semjen 탐지게 된 산지 semjen 탐지게 된이야 산지 고고 미 산지 고바 톱고도 셈비게다 삼로 디 장슈 셈도 고고를 해야 돼 디기 토 삼바라 삼바 슈침보 깨발라 semjen 탐지게 된다는 게 산지 고바 톱고도 제산 신 semjen 탐지 코웨 동안을 저 맞아 받는다 샹을 강아치기도 지산 신심자 탄저 코웨 동안을 줘야지 디 아니 그서를 띵기 대화다 탈바 탐지 요거 봐 토고도 선비게 삼로디 토바디다 신이 되는 거 디토리아게 된다라야 아니 네 가르쳐도 네 산지고 봐 토고도 선비게 디기디 토 삼발라 삼보 슈침보 깨발 심지 산지고 봐 토고도 선비 삼로 쥐마 많이 바지 깨고래스 디 마케바네 냠네 산조고바 토토고 마레스 디케발라 아네 디 장주 셈 책으로 와다 장주 셈 책으로 죄만만 받게야 돼. 디로 삼바 슈첸보 게라 세 게바라 세 게세데. 나디 장주 셈데 숨고데. 게바라 세디고 게바 세 디발샤데. 게바 세 게바라디 월샤데. 당보 게바 세 칸 돈달라 현기 된세 셈제 탐지기 된다 상기 셈제 탐지 상기 고방 토바디 현기 된제 다 데니게 셈제 탐지 상기 고방 토야라 돈달라 니 셈제 탐지 상기 고방 토부가랑 상기 고방 토구도 셈비 토 삼바 슉침부 쩌마 많이 게바라서 게바 세데 데니게 디기 데토 디기 토 삼바 슉침부 게세드 삼바 쩌마 많이 게바서 게바 In
order to have strong consideration for others' happiness and welfare, here the meditator will have reflected well on what it is that sentient beings long for and why they have not attained it. What it is, therefore, that sentient beings really need. What it is that the practitioner, the meditator, can give to them that is of supreme value. And that is for them to attain the state that is freedom, complete freedom from the afflictions together with their seeds and imprints. In other words, for others, for all beings, to achieve this state of enlightenment. Here the meditator will have come to understand that beings right now are bound in the suffering realms of samsara by their own contaminated karma and afflicted minds. And as long as they remain bound in samsara, they will suffer. They will continue to be tormented by suffering. Sometimes, in some rebirths and at some periods of great intensity, suffering of great intensity, at other times lesser so. But nevertheless, as long as they are bound in the suffering realms of samsara, beings will suffer. And that, the meditator comes to see, is not acceptable. It is not acceptable that beings remain bound in suffering that they have created. So here, they generate the wish to fulfill the true purpose or benefit of others, which is to guide them so that they achieve their own enlightenment. And this becomes the sole purpose, the driving force behind every thought, every activity of the meditator. I will become a Buddha, the most skilled of guides, so that I can lead each and every being without exception to the attainment of enlightenment. So this is what they cultivate within themselves again and again, to the point when it arises in a manner that is uncontrived, spontaneous. And this is the generation of uncontrived bodhicitta.
지단다 생기 대퇴시도 현sem자 타주 코르 동안을 타달을 줘야지 상계 고펑 대 생기 된제 생기 된 탈투바지 지자디 생기 된 탈투고 주발라 라니게 탈투바도 주발라 소소랑라 가르고선 당보 sem제 탐지기 된 상계 고마 토벌시비지 자주 가서 소소랑랑 상계 고마 마토바이나 sem제 탐지 상계 고방을 꼬투고 말했어 지자 sem제 탐지 상계 고방 꼬발라 소소랑랑 상계 고마 토고레스 지상 소소랑 산지 고보 토발라 장주 셈기 심비 토니 장주 셈 냠레 제네 토보마도 장주 셈 냠레 마제바 산지 고보 토토고 마디네 자 생기 돼 장주 셈 공고레 세 지상 셈제 탐제 산지 고보 야케바 꼬발라 라니 산지 고보 뉴바지 고고레 토보고레 지상 라니 산지 고보 토발라 녜라 가르곰 토고 유가르곰 토고레스는 장주 셈 냠는 제발 때네 산지 고보 토고레 세디 디숭고레.
What I'm presenting here is the final goal, the supreme goal of the practitioner, as well as the preceding goal. Here they're reflecting on the situation of all sentient beings. And they're doing so in a way that leads to the recognition that only Buddhahood is a goal worth striving for beings. And they themselves, the practitioner themselves, has to become a flawless guide so as to help others attain the state of perfection, as the state of Buddhahood. So therefore, in order to help others achieve the supreme state of enlightenment, I as the practitioner have to achieve it myself. And without generating bodhicitta, Buddhahood cannot be achieved. It will only ever remain as a mere aspiration. Whatever strength of sincerity of wish to be of benefit to others will never be more than an aspiration unless I develop bodhicitta, the indispensable foundation to become a Buddha. So therefore, bodhicitta must be generated in an uncontrived manner within.
다 디네기 다 심전 탐지기 되는 산지 고번 토벌 치킨 시비 장주 심 쩨마 마이베 깨발라 아니 가르 곰는 간스키 오래란나 디케와게 돈다 유가르 고고레세네 델야 아니 가소레 네 가사시 디가 와레스 땅이 됐지 아 깨발라 신기 둥알라 미네 둥아 대다 자나 지마롱 옌비기 가서 말베 당보데 깨발라 신규비기 쿠르랑이 때도 랑년비기 학삼 아니 하베 삼바데 녀바도 공부그래서 제가 장주심 좀 깨발라 녀레 가르삼라 가르스탄에 깨오래라는 디 귤을 가르고 그래서는 학삼 남다 공부그래서 학삼 남다 검세데 신기 동화되게 파니 타기 동화들 교구 인스 신기 동화되 녜세다 디기디 녜지기 디기주비 녜주기 세비게 안에 학회 삼바디 깨오래 공부그래서 디 녜바도 검제 좀 많이 받지 깨바지 고고래서 디 깨발레드는 디 고묘도 안에 간섬질이야 심제 담지 상요고바 토바지기 자주심이 깨도 그래서 사실 중순 거를
Generation of uncontrived bodhicitta comes about in dependence on causes. Immediately preceding the generation of bodhicitta is the altruistic attitude of universal responsibility. And that is what is referred to here in the second part of the sentence as the special altruistic attitude. It is necessary to have a special altruistic attitude in which you take upon yourself the burden of helping others. So this attitude, this special altruistic attitude, or the altruistic attitude of universal responsibility, is what needs to be cultivated as an indispensable cause that leads to uncontrived bodhicitta.
gyujudan jebu tu chikche tu yore la rwa jebu de karasane janju sem joma mayin ba janju sem de jebu ti che chizan janju sem ke gi tablam de gyuju go re je da gyuju de karasane dangbo de karasane ba sore ma she she jin jin jemba che dene jin so wa che rwa dene yon jamba che dene niji chenbo che dene hasam namda se di dele gyuju che 지산다 디젤라 하선 남다게 지라 가르쳐서 장슈심기 그래 제부디 장슈심데 제부디체 지산다 규주단 제부지 뒤인체데 근데 근제 만자 뒤유거니 계산 지산다 안주게다 규 제부디 장슈심데 지산 규주기 나네다 규주 나네 타마리 가르스나 하선 현대 쿠르 케벨 하선 남다세데 다디데 장슈심 개발라 유 녀라 가르 공부하시네 하선 남다디 현대 쿠르 케기야네
The method for generating bodhicitta that His Holiness is presenting in this text can be translated as the sevenfold quintessential instructions of cause and effect, or the six cause and one effect method. Either way, the effect or the result that is being strived for in this technique is to develop not any bodhicitta, but in particular uncontrived bodhicitta. Uncontrived bodhicitta, as was mentioned, comes about in dependence on causes. And in this technique, 6 are explicitly mentioned. So over the page, we have them spread out. And what is being referred to here is the 6th cause, which is a 6th cause, which in this translation is the unusual attitude. The unusual attitude, or in this sentence, we have it as the special altruistic attitude. This is the altruistic attitude of universal responsibility, the 6th cause that leads to the generation of bodhicitta. And as we see in this sentence, it is where one takes upon oneself the burden of helping others.
Dene zada dene ge shen kudu shen gyobe kur rangi jigin sebi kur lambe laksan namdari gyabala dinyela karo kumgure lamna dene dedebi samba kebar jen gyabala shen yi dunga la mine dunga dedan chana jimaru nebi ninji chenpo ngabado goyos. Dirwa jeza shen yi dunga la jeza laksan namdari gyabala gyugaro gosene 딩엘이야 셴 동안은 잔나는 비니지 공부를 인제 공부를 때내 학습기 고 말 인조 마음내 기르고 말해 제가 되네자 니 귤이야 녀래야 안에 가르고 버스 셴 동안다 잔나지 마로 녀비기 니지 심보는 게 녀바도 공부를 해서 귤이야 디도를 해서 됐어.
Just like bodhicitta, the goal of bodhicitta requires specific causes that need to be trained in sequentially to bring about the desired result, so too do each of those causes come about independent on their own specific preceding causes. The cause then for the altruistic attitude of universal responsibility is presented in the next sentence, so still at the bottom of the first page. In order to generate such an unusual attitude, it is necessary to have great compassion. So here, this unusual attitude is the altruistic attitude of universal responsibility. So in order to generate it, it is necessary to have great compassion, caring about the suffering of others, and wanting to do something about it.
Dene semjan tamju dungana dhana nyambi jimaru nibi niji de joma mayi bachi gyabala ane karuko gosene di nyeleya niji 대답에 니제 돕된 개발라 토마르 둥아게 나베 셈젠라 미네 지다르 매 랑게 둥아 랑기 셈 두베 부치부 다보라 제와다르 셈젠 탐지 이루와 토네 데다 탐지라 대와 중을 되베게 잠바 돕첸시고 그래서 다던라라 데니기 니지 개발라 니지 좀 개발라 가르고서 둥아에 내베 셈젠들라 미지네 베네 부두버 지불라 아마질라 부 그런 부 지여바지 아마디 베 부들야 베 제와로 시우주여베네 베여베네 안에 아마 부들야 강아 체도 강아데 세가 세고도 선배게 부들야 지세와 시우실리로 안디나신 동아인 내외 셈제들이 미제네 안 셈제를 대화민도 셈제 디기 중국도 대화 고도 선배게 내니게 셈제를 가위게 잠바 안 셈제 가위게 잠바 공부제 잠바 돕침 버지고 그래 잠바 공부 그래 제가 니 잠바도 공부할 때는 잠바 공부여도 안 디기 제라 니지기 그래 제가 니지기 와라 당보 도션 잠바 공부 그래 사지 나 이용 잠바세 그러다 당하죠.
Kedan tanta ditsiru kotsuke tatabu ninje topken kepa dene ha.
진짜 ninje kepa la garugo setiruwa.
Continuing in the text, which continues to present the sequence of training in reverse order, understanding that each higher level of training comes about independent on the cultivation of the prior level. In order to have such a strong force of compassion, first you must have a strong sense of love, which, upon observing suffering sentient beings, wishes that they have happiness, finding a pleasantness in everyone, and wishing happiness for everyone, just as a mother does her sole sweet child. Here, His Holiness is presenting in reverse order that in order to generate uncontrived bodhicitta, one requires the generation of the altruistic attitude of universal responsibility, which it itself comes about in dependence on having generated uncontrived compassion, and it itself comes about in dependence on generating love as well. So there is this sequence of training. So this we need to recognize that when we read here and hear an explanation, we want to become a person who's accounted amongst bodhisattvas. We have to become someone who has generated this altruistic attitude. And for that to come about, we too need to be someone who has generated powerful, uncontrived, great compassion within ourselves. And for that to come about, one needs to have generated love. Love, we understand, not love, which from love, compassion arises. Love here is presented through an analogy which helps convey the experience of love. So if we think of the tender affection with which a mother holds her dear child, that is how someone who has generated love holds all beings. The generation of love is where one wants the very best for others. And even if they were to have the very best that were available, that would be insufficient. The love wants only the very best for others, and it's experienced in the meditator as a tender affection, a warmth, a closeness, just like a mother who holds her dear child.
Digi nang rang la pando chimbo jebi ki kibu shi per lang ne di din temper che de esa. Zada din temper ku ku re esa din da de semje da dinigi semje tamje le ya. De wa de juna nyembi ki jamba di ke wala nyela ane rang lia zi nyewa da bene chiki rang le ta sem ta nyebo da rang lia ze wo ji hi ze yong gi somebody jehin midi pichik samda je ndelya an jiko dinji din jemba ja kaso din kozle pemba jugin sebege samlo jango kore esaji din jemba jede sade pando je nyembege kibushi berlane di jemba jede sadi bardo na di nyom lo shana diwa dondaji bara dene dinjen barje dene ani dinyel di bar sonshan.
And the text continues. So again, I've read most of the next sentence. Again, in order to have a sense of closeness and dearness for others, you must first train in a sense of their kindness through using as a model a person in this lifetime who was very kind to yourself.
That's it. That the Pembage Dugin Sempiki, Pembage Dugin Sempe, Samla Tawala, and a Garugo Sene, Gangelia, Dene, Semjen, Semjen, Gagete, Dela, Dene, Sem, Gagete, the Droa Tamji, Gedilla, and a Lochangu, yes. Jina, Denigi Pa. Dangbo dini samdane dini pa semjen mangala samdaji den semje tamjel pa mije an semje tamje ralya ane gedin chebore din chebore sembege lo janggu rejile.
Yeah, when having recalled the kindness and benefits that one receives from others, then we extend to all others. So the sentence then concludes, and then extending the sense of gratitude to all beings.
Then denigi din jambi kablaya an karakus na samdana dile deni nga ji che dile samda bena gedin chesho je yebe an gomji rimbi tomar di an semjen tamje rangi pamadar sembe gone ane go tsam go re se ane rewa dene ki jin chi sho de jin chi sho je ye ba ye be sa gombi gi rimbi gi tomar ane shen semjen tam je ye rangi madar sembi go ne ane go tsam go re se dangbo sam da de kabla jisa da dangbo ngana ji rangi das de rangi pamaru da dene gi ni sho rangi pama de sam da delya ane gejen sam jin chen pa sam gejen chen pa sam da del pa sam no de geshe pa da je dene semje tamje rangi pama na shi jin chen bo re sembe ge du chen ne an sam dang hu re se.
And the paragraph concludes, since in general in this life your mother was the closest and offered the most help, the process of meditation begins with recognizing all other sentient beings as like your mother. So here the presentation always refers to one's mother, but individuals may have different circumstances where their primary caregiver was their father or someone else. And this is usually who has shown one the most kindness in this life, and that's where one starts.
Didabi gomji rimba la, ane semje tamje, tadidu mar sheba, jin jemba, jin sowa, iwongi jamba, ninje, laksam sede yudu tiche. Dene janshu sem je dun yu se janshu sem dida jibu je an dun di dunda dires.
Now we continue in the text and we come to the list of the 7 steps. So I'll read it just with our more usual translation. The system of meditation therefore has 7 steps: recognizing all sentient beings as mothers, becoming mindful of their kindness, developing an intention to repay their kindness, love, compassion, the altruistic attitude of universal responsibility. So that's what we usually use instead of what they have in this instance as the unusual attitude, but it's translated varyingly. And then the 7th being bodhicitta.
Deji ma sungda di luk do ba, luk do sungba reside. When is look chung say look chung da look do say ni yung look chung lamna deji dinadi wa de tinga dinadi dambo ma she yokom da ko ki du ki wi rimba disore dambo ma she yokom dima yakpo lo le ba ki sa ju chela dene ya jin jen ba ju kom dene jin jen ba de nga ju nyam nyong ro ke de ke dene jin so wa de kom di kom ne dene ya kom be che dene ane yuwa cha ba kom dene yuwa cha ba kom se be de la ni chen bo kom ni chen bo kom be che la laksa nam dai kom ke dene laksa nam ni de la janshu sem gyule ke de ko luk chung se de ko no gyunji gi rimba woni jung da rimba de nyam nen ji dai rimba de kom ya de dirwa 다 대지 송야 데 룩도 요거는 송바 셰베 송베 림바 룩도는 송바 대지 가서 잔시심 녀를 송 대 잔시심 고와라 가르고구레라 데 디야셰도 파산한다 고구레세 파산한다 깨와라 가르고서 니주 공부래 니주 공부라 가르고 이원 잠보 공부래 이원 잠보 공부라 진소 공부래 진소 공부라 진잼바 공부래 진잼바 공부라 semjen 탐제랑게 마셔바 공부래 세지 대지 딘마 송야디 슈냐 도스제 룩도 송와서 데.
Just before I come to Genla's commentary, His Holiness here, in this instance and a few others, uses a more extensive term for the word that we translate as love, which gives, it's difficult to put in English, hence it's not in our text, but it gives a flavor for the word love. So it's you could maybe say an affectionate love, or don't say pleasing love, in that it's how the person appears to one's mind, the one that one has love for, in that they appear in an appealing manner, an attractive manner, a pleasant manner. So somehow that then gets married to the word love. And that's a little difficult to do, because to say pleasing love sounds a bit strange, or pleasant love, but it's how the person appears to the mind that is infused with love, is pleasing or pleasant or attractive. So now to come to what Genla said, I mentioned in an earlier segment that the 6 cause and 1 effect method can be presented in 2 ways, starting with the supreme effect of Buddhahood, and then the effect that's mentioned in the title, that of bodhicitta, and then the causes in reverse order, showing how the causes that lead sequentially to the attainment of the effect. So that's how His Holiness presented thus far. And now we see where they are listed. They are presented in the forward order rather than as previously in the reverse order. And the forward order, as is presented in the list, is the order in which one trains one's mind, one generates the order of realization that one generates within.
당보 캡산데 야고지 어디 디지베 캡산 데데데 캡산 데네 여 섬여도 아니디 미 간사 가지 어디 캡산데 어디네 야고도 어디라고도 선비게 되바지 어디 아니 디라야게 된다 어디라바네 결혼 총디게네 결혼은 우이데 맞아 되네시 고구려 해야지 아니 딘 맞아 사야 맞아 되네 사월 내가 딘 레고라서 고 두신 레가를 좀 말씀으로 디나시레 데페나가 중에 디 당보 제비기 데 제부디 바 마송 then Jebudi Yakuso, the Jebudi Yemen, or that did the bear, or did Madame the Tabino Sempig sometime do. Then Kara Ditoria, near some of the Ditankore, I said, Ma Dinig Dush in the Sonia Dilla, and the deal Gasore, Sonachi Gungur, that did the Sonia de Disobarita, and was Sanjay, that Jashu Semtike Pasha, Ditola di Gugure Sage. And this court did Dambo Jebudi soon. Then Jebudi. 이만 밖에 안 돼. 대부 토비알에 규티사고래 디사고래 셋 마소에 디샤고라.
His Holiness in the preceding paragraph presented the reverse order of the 6 cause and 1 effect method for a specific purpose. And that's because when one knows the result of doing something, one will give rise to an aspiration and then a determination to achieve that result. So just like in our own life, we think of something we want, then we think of how to do it, and then we engage. Or in business, wanting to have a good livelihood, one will think of an opportunity where one can earn well, and then will look more deeply and come up with a specific plan, and then enact that plan. So one, through knowing first the result and giving rise and the benefits of such a result, one leads to an aspiration to achieve it and a determination to endure through developing all the required causes. Hence, the reason His Holiness first presented the 6 cause and 1 effect method in reverse sequence.
rimba yang ji rimba songtang ji le ya dangbo dewen ma sha dangbo yu hu dangbo yu dangbo de sam da je da kyoron di ne gom go le di gom be je la di gom go le di gom be je la di gom go le di gom je de yu dang ha ji rimba ma sa kyoron dangbo ani semjan ne je rang ge ma je nyo de ma she ba de gom go le es di ma de ya go cha so ne de ne jin chen bo mo gom go le es Dene jin chenpo mo gomsuda jin chenpo re samyendo ante pa jin pa konsulia jin len pa pemba dugwin sempe samtang kores. Di samtang da kar gombo resene kyono ane semjen tamje dewa de dena sempe ki yuwa champa gombo res. Di gomba na semjen tamje dunga da dana ninji gombo res. Kyono ninji gomyo de dene semjen tamje dunga da dawa de nge jigin sepe laksan namda de kiyo re di gombo res. Di gomyo de semjen tamje ke dodange sanje gomba toba jigin sepe gombo res. Di gomba la tene 그래서 타마를 상주고가 톡톡을 해야지. 어두시도 대디 룩중기 중리 원내랑 윤제기 원내랑 그 원인이 튜비 규디 공부를 제버디 중에 바데 림바 당보데 두시네 손해야 되다. 그 윤제기 림비가 토네 손바서 윤제 림비 토네 손바서.
Most usually, the sequence would be in the forward order, or the sequence that's presented is the forward order, the sequence of training one's mind, where one first starts to cultivate the recognition that all beings have been our mothers, that we have this close, entwined, interrelated relationship with all beings. And thereafter, one reflects on the kindness of our mother of this life, and therefore of all beings. This then, that second step, in dependence on that, spontaneously the wish to repay the kindness of not only the mother in this life, but all mothers arises. This is cultivated into how to repay the kindness. The wish of, may all beings have lasting happiness and the causes that will lead to it. And that's a generation of love. And the generation of compassion comes from, in order for beings to abide in lasting happiness, may all beings be freed of suffering and its causes. That's a generation of compassion. And then this is followed by the sixth step, that of the altruistic attitude of universal responsibility, where the meditator is no longer content with the mere aspiration of love and compassion, but they now take it as their own personal responsibility to ensure that all beings achieve a state freed of suffering, a state of lasting happiness. And in order to do so, to fulfill this responsibility, the practitioner commits to becoming a bodhisattva and then a Buddha. And this way they generate bodhicitta in their continuum. And this then is the result of these six causes, and it is the indispensable, this result itself is a cause, and it is the indispensable cause for the generation or the attainment of Buddhahood.
Yeah, 지금 송다 되는 시송에도야 지 개발로 지금 감나 매발이야 되니기 개발된데 용으로 변에 저기 사실진에 당보 권리에 린마징아 두스제도 좋아 펜사진들 조금 매슬랍나 어당에 다른 곳이 우로 조금매라에게 냥아요 봐. 되니기 아직 일 판데 사주들 빼사지 기우 시우를 빼 되니기 카루요 상마 기우 될바 되는데 여러서 연대를 봐 주는 되는데 여러서 시에도 안셈리야 어다디 빼하고도 델레지 조고도 셈비게 되냐게 듬바 슉치부 기에서 봐나 기어도 다고 셈슐 마선 사지를 로그인스베 셈슐 레사르와 레야도 안디 로바디 가르조선 아켜나 되는지도 아주디 제조야게 되게 뇨거래 사지 진의 뇨야시로 다에 뇨기서 곧 펜디 조야게 셈슐 전부 여봐서 되게 뇨기서 셈슐 요로 봐다 레레로 아젠 되게 녀는 저랑 우이 되는 고구려 사지 다들 결혼면 안 결혼이 내가 디라야 된다 내가 디시 레스다 님이 가시 내가 레다 되는 아주 좋아서 두 신의 시대 안에도 그 페니기 데보들 돈이 숙침을 해도 될 줘야게 탑람지게 찾아야 랑슈 콜이야 디 제거서 비게데 직 배주셔야 심슈트 맞은 리고로 봐 진짜 제비가 연대는 주셔야 안니래 디젠도 곧야 규디 주야게 탑람 두스림 봐서 치다 직송 거래 야 되네 지양 당보디 마선제 당보는 결혼 당보디 결혼이 냠내 제사직송 되는 냠내는 야게도 안다 결혼 디젤 디냐 삼다세 안두시는 삼다 두시는 야치야지 지산 치당기 송탄 치당 림바 니서 거나 딱 되시기 감당 매바도 튠비기 토네 안주 되는 거 롭듯이 아직 용고래
Some instances these six causes and one effect are presented in the forward sequence, and in others in the reverse sequence. And for some individuals, in dependence on their own individual disposition and inclination, they will be more inclined to one presentation or the other. They'll be more moved by one presentation or the other. So we can think of, for example, if you say to a friend of yours, tonight I'm going to a particular place to do a particular thing, and your friend may say, have fun, no interest, I don't want to join you, it's warm inside, I'm comfortable on my couch. And then you end up having to go alone. So the way you presented it didn't turn their mind, didn't inspire them to get up off their couch and come along. But if you had presented it in a different way, mentioning first about where you're going and why you're going there and all that you're going to experience and how you're looking forward to it and why you're looking forward to it, then an aspiration will arise within them. And then if you say to them, let's go online and order the tickets, they'll say, happily, I'd love to join you. So there, you've presented in a way more in accordance with their own personality. So here, His Holiness skillfully presents both methods, first, or both the forward and the reverse sequence. The reverse sequence presenting the goal, the purpose, and thereafter how to fulfill that purpose. And then, for some students, that will turn their mind to having the interest. So how do I train my mind? Others, will be ready for the forward sequence immediately. And this is what now His Holiness presented in the actual listing.
Dinigi Sundadelia, Shebi Rimba said, and Castle Gombi Rimba said. The Jingas Dambo, Mashi Jinjan Jizo Yagom did the Gombi Rimba go Dambo Chunga, the Gomdelia, Gombi Rimba, Yaya, the Gombi Rimba. The Designal Mason, the Shebi Rimba, the Table Dinella said, then the duty or Didi or said, Shebi Rimba, Sumbi Rimba, just that the Niki on Gombi Rimba said, Sumbi Rimba said, do sweet in Gurmata, Dambonan, Jaju Semgom, and Tigila, the Hassan and the Gom said, Dimarwa, Gombi Rimba Chago Maro, Gombi Rimba, Doctor Chadirua.
The reverse sequence that we had in the paragraph, this we can call the stages of explanation. So this is a sequence in which it is only explained. What we have here in the list, these are, rather than being the stages of explanation or the reverse sequence, now in the forward sequence, these are the stages of meditation, the order in which one cultivates these within one's mind.
Yeah, George.
I just have a question about the reverse order. Just in the explanation, it seems like the fourth one, strong sense of love is clear, and then the sense of kindness, the second one is clear. But I can't quite find where the wish to repay is. It's not quite clear to me.
So of the 6 causes, the wish to repay, the kindness, it isn't very clear in the reverse sequence.
Yeah, the third one.
Yeah.
The third one, the wish to repay, isn't clear.
Mindu Dela, Jin Temba said, Sunshadwa, Jin Soa said, Shula did Nangol Mother, also Sumidu.
So you're correct, it hasn't been explicitly mentioned, but it would be implied by the recollection of kindness. Possibly the transcriber omitted it. That's also possible, because this is from an oral teaching.
잠제 잠니제의 샬리아 잠바단 제외 삼바다 샬레 펜베 삼바데 양오 아주 검제 숙처를 땅고 그래서 지난 디야고 쇼바이나 아주 튕긴 가는 쇼베네 튕긴 오비 치료 오버티게 약고 질레 베시다도 그래서 지난 디 삼바 이야기 말아가지 치용 오버 짱짱 이야기 삼단 삼 데르 삼로데 디장야 숙땅바이나 디네 치용 오버 이야기 차상 아니 펜베 자와 질레 베시다도 말해서 디네 상한 저게 삼바디 치용오버 이야기 좋아다 냠도 낭sem 잠바단 제와 샬레 판베 삼라데 이야기 땅고데 기침버려서 돈다 닝보디 되시다 먼저 디시 쇼가 셔야 되데 나디 젤다 나디니 나디 디림바디다 젤이야 냠네 기림베 곰베 림바디 되는 마송도 찍바 자르고데.
So to summarize what we've looked at this morning is, again, it was emphasized the need to cultivate a motivation that's infused with a love and compassion. Because if our motivation is infused with love and compassion, we will utilize all the material wonders that we have at our disposal, as well as our own skills and talents, to benefit others, and to ensure that in doing so, we never bring harm to others. And thereafter, we looked at, or mentioned, the stages of training in which one embarks in order to become a person whose mind is infused with love and compassion. And this we'll look at in more detail in the coming sessions. So thank you. Then we can conclude here for this morning.